Jaylon Johnson, who was ranked at number 34 last year, going down to 71 this year. Now, I want to be clear here. I understand why. Jaylon Johnson and the Chicago Bears defense, it was not great last year. You look at the losing streak that we had, some of the poor performances from the defense. It's hard not to look at that, and as well as some of Jaylon's own personal stats. He went down from 4 interceptions down to 2 from 2023 to 2024. And while that's not always the great sign, one of the biggest conversations that I had here right before Jaylon Johnson signed his contract extension, when there was all that talk about was he going to get extended, was he going to not, was about Jaylon Johnson and the interception number. Now, the interception number is something that, of course, box score stat watchers like to use to validate how good a cornerback or whatever or secondary player is. But I say that looking at it, you got to watch the game. And the way that Jaylon Johnson has shut down a whole side of the field where opposing quarterbacks just don't throw to his side of the field, that played a part into why those interception numbers were low. But then he turned around and in 2023 responded to that with 4 interceptions, the most of his NFL career at that point in time. He had only had 1 in his NFL career at that point, right? But then you look at now how he's going to be used. And like I said, Jaylon Johnson is a player that already talked about what his personal goals were for the season. And I said once that came out that if he even achieves 60% of what his goals were, that's going to be one of the best cornerback seasons that we've seen in a Chicago Bears uniform, right? One of the best, not the best, right? And so that's a huge, and I'm glad that he has that standard set for himself. But Jaylon Johnson has already been a player that's been motivated by being slept on, by being motivated by, being doubted by, and he's been motivated by all of that. And now how he's going to be used under Dennis Allen and all the defensive backs here, right? That he is going to be, and Jaylon Johnson has talked about it, he's going to be able to float around more. He's not going to just be in zone to shut down one side of the field. He's going to be more in man coverage. He's going to do some more kind of creative things there. And because that's going to happen here for him, we could see one of the seasons from Jaylon Johnson that even the box score stat watchers look at and say, Jaylon Johnson had a great season. I get it. Not everybody has a lot of time to watch football. Not a shot towards y'all, but y'all should be watching more football if you're going to talk about it at a high level. Nonetheless, Jaylon is a petty player. And as somebody asked Petty Roosevelt, I appreciate players that use that pettiness, not to just be petty and snarky in interviews or things like that, but more so to put it on the football field. Jaylon Johnson is a player that wants to prove it all out on the field. And now he's going to, I can see Jaylon Johnson completely using that to give himself some motivation to prove the doubters wrong on the football field. And I, for one, am never mad about players who leave it and put it out on the field. Never mad at that.